a little bit about me. I've been around doing this kind of like endpoint management for quite some time. I started as a MCT in 90s. My first training was that I had, and I was instructor was Systems Management Server 1.2 in 1995. I've been MVP since 2005, and I think that's about 16, 17 years. It's always confusing when they change that renewal date. You can see my contact information, and I hope that I can share my slides with you somehow. So maybe if I send them after the session, for example, to Tim.
Yeah, that would be great, Panu. And we're also recording the sessions so that we will make them available on the YouTube channel at some point as well.
Wow, wow, wow. So I suppose most of you are familiar with these Microsoft Endpoint Manager services. So you have on-prem services. So over there you have on-prem AD and config manager, and then on the cloud side you have Intune and Azure AD, and you have Windows 10 or upcoming 11 workstation, and those are managed either by config manager or Intune, or if the device is managed with both config manager and Intune, so they are co-managed. And then you have a tenant attached where you can upload your config manager devices to Endpoint Manager admin console portal, so you can from that web portal see all your devices. And then you have this kind of cloud-related stuff like Autopilot, and then Cloud Management Gateway. But in this session, we will cover desktop analytics and endpoint analytics and update compliance. How many of you are using desktop analytics? So if you raise hand, so nobody? Okay, some. Everybody is doing something else than endpoint management. And then is anybody using update compliance? Okay, so I'm not going to cover too much how to deploy those different services. I'm more focused about what kind of information you can get from those. So let's start with desktop analytics. And what is the purpose of desktop analytics? It is the cloud-based service to make your Windows 10 upgrades easier. So I guess the last real Windows 10 upgrade would be to get from Windows 10 1909 to Windows 10 20H2, because like from 20H2 till 21H2, you will do that with enablement package, which is not like a real upgrade. And desktop analytics will give you app compatibility info against different Windows 10 versions. So you could see, do you have any application or devices which might not like the latest Windows 10 version? And you have some additional information. So you, for example, you get information about app usage, and also you have intelligent piloting. I'm not going to cover that too much. And the key thing to understand with desktop analytics is that even though it's a cloud service, it requires config manager. And then from config manager, you will get integration, and you define some of the settings from config manager, and some of the settings are coming from the cloud services. And The information is based on Windows 10 diagnostics data, so you must enable diagnostics data collection from your devices. So this diagnostics data is a new name for telemetry, and this is required. And so what info you can get from desktop analytics? And I think it's better if I start showing what you can do with that. So I'm over here. So let's go to our main portal, and from all services you get a link to desktop analytics, and here is the main page. So from the main page, a couple of key things. In my test environment, I got only like 17 devices, and I see that 14 out of those 17 devices are in service, meaning that those Windows 10 versions are supported. I have one device which is not supported anymore, and then there are two devices which contain some issues. There are some deployment plans, and those deployment plans are just information against which Windows 10 version you want to compare the compatibility information. So one of the easy benefits out of this desktop analytics is history information. I really love this chart because it will show me from almost last year, March 2020, how many different Windows 10 builds I have. This is really useful when you are doing like Windows 10 version upgrades and you want to see and show how quickly you are able to move to latest Windows 10 operating systems versions. From Config Manager, you can get this kind of current information, what is the number of different builds, but it is much difficult to get this kind of history data. One thing that you need to remember is that there's always the top is 100%. So sometimes these numbers might differ quite a lot. I have quite a few education customers, and desktop analytics saves information for those devices which have been online last 30 days. So during the summer breaks, the number of devices might decrease quite a lot. And then during the summertime, the percentage might go quite berserk. But then when the school starts again, then you will get this kind of real information. Deployment plans, those are really simple. You just say that I have this kind of deployment plan. Let's go check the basic information. So I want to check compatibility information against Windows 10 20H2 in this one. And what is my projected completion date? Luckily, you can change this. So if you are too optimistic, you can find and move it a little bit later. And then assets. This is information, some kind of like a small inventory of your devices. And you will see, for example, the name of the device, what is the operating system, what is hardware manufacturer, and then when the devices has been last seen, total RAM, for example. I need to put this, not the full screen, so I can use this scroll bar. What is the processor and what is the total RAM? With applications, I will see all my applications. In my small demo environment, I have 288 applications, and then noteworthy applications are those which are installed on over 2% of the devices. And because I have like less than 50 devices, even if the application is installed only one client, then it will show here. I will select that I see application versions. So now what is interesting, what you get, is total install count. So immediately I will see that how many installations I have for different applications. Another cool number is monthly active devices. So how many users have been using this application within the last 30 days? This kind of information is pretty hard to get, for example, with Config Manager. The install count you can get pretty easily, even though it might require some work, but these monthly active devices, that's much more complex to get from Config Manager. If I go to the deployment plans and select one deployment plan, and I have the here plan assets. So from here, I will see the devices and then the readiness status against the selected operating system. So some of those devices have been already upgraded to 28.2, so they are up to date. And ready means that they don't contain any applications which are not supported by the later operating system. I have one device which has status of blocked, and for that device, the new operating system is not offered, and there is some with review in progress. Normally, that means that those have applications which are considered important enough that admin must give some kind of like information, is that application good enough for this later operating system version. So let's go to the applications, and I got the same list of applications, but now I get new information. So the interesting information is Readiness Insights and adaptation status and also compatibility information. So when I see application which is highly adopted, then I know that this application has been installed, do I remember correctly, at least on 1 million devices running on this particular Windows operating system. If I select, for example, where this application, which has a Readiness Insights, a Windows Firewall configuration provider, so I have some insight, and now I know that there is a new version available for this new operating system. For this one, I can do also searches. So let's see, do I have any application where compatibility risk would be medium or high? I got only one, Intel Bluetooth. And Intel Bluetooth is installed on two devices, and what I got here is that inside this application is removed during upgrade. And this might cause issues, but then most probably this means that there is a later version also available for that. So what do you get from here? You can get this compatibility information against different versions. You get application installation accounts, you get monthly active usage. So let's then go a little bit further. So this application uses, this is a screenshot from one of my customers. So then you would see that these total installation accounts and then monthly active devices. And with real customer data, this information is so much more meaningful, and it might give you quite interesting information. I will skip these requirements. They will be in the slide deck. Because this desktop analytics will store the data in log analytics, you can use custom query language queries against this desktop analytics data and get some more information. Let's have a couple of examples. So I will go to the portal Azure.com and select Log Analytics Workspaces. This is my workspace. Go to the logs. Have you used CM Pivot in Config Manager, or have you done KQL queries? So how many is familiar about those? So team is only one. Okay, couple of. Yeah. So this Microsoft 365 Analytics is those entities related to desktop analytics. So let's check what you get from devices. So I will get the device name, what is the manufacturer, model, operating system version, build numbers with cumulative update numbers, OS edition, then what is the processor, what is the model family. With this kind of information, I can easily create some additional queries. So for example, if I want to only see a little bit more meaningful columns, so with this thing, I can select only the columns I like. So now it would be much more readable information. Also, you can pretty easily do this kind of summarizations. So I want to summarize the count of devices based on OS version and then do a pie chart. So very quickly I get this kind of nice pie chart about my Windows 10 versions. Also, if I'm interested in finding applications, for example, so these are top 100 Microsoft applications. And just if I, let's have this Adobe. Somebody should fire the PC management guy because there's so many different reader versions. There should be only one. Come on. One of them interesting, I could get these risk. So this would be the same thing what I did with the portal. So all those applications which have high or medium risk against Windows 10, 20H2. One thing that is kind of interesting and which is not seen anywhere in the portal, I can see application health issues. So these are application crashes. I will do a little bit more complex query, so I can see that now this maybe should be the wrong way around. So these are applications with the most devices with most application failures. That is also quite difficult to find information in other ways, unless you are using Endpoint Analytics. Okay, so here's a little bit information about those desktop analytics tables. And some examples are also part of the slides, so you can get these with the slide deck. Okay, so let's so these different applications that might crash are quite interesting, and I don't have many applications, but you will get interesting information from real customers' environments. And let's go to the Endpoint Analytics. So Endpoint Analytics is pretty new service. It has been around a year and a half now, and it started with startup performance and proactive remediation, and with recommended software. So with a startup performance, you will see startup and local performance information. Proactive remediation means that like better way to run PowerShell scripts. Recommended software basically just tells you how much you are using Microsoft Cloud Services. Application reliability gives you information about application issues. These are for Windows 10 or Windows 11 devices. Endpoint Analytics works with Intune, Config Manager, or co-managed devices. That means that Config Manager is not required. And Endpoint Analytics gives you this kind of a numeric score, so you can compare your score against somebody else's score, saying that, okay, our organization has much faster devices than you do. With insights and recommendations, you will get hopefully meaningful insights how you could improve your environment. Data collection is used by a specific script. For Intune only managed devices, you need to deploy Intune data collection policy. That it will be a script that will collect the necessary information from the devices. For Config Manager devices, you have automatically collects the necessary information when you enable Endpoint Analytics using cloud-attached settings. And for Config Manager, you have a couple of client log files. And let's see what information you get from Endpoint Analytics. So let's start with overview. This is my score. I don't have any score number for my application reliability. That's because I don't have enough devices. I have some insights and recommendations. Okay, so not all the devices are registered with Autopilot. Okay, yes. Some of devices are not cloud managed. Okay. All the versions of Windows. Wow, that's kind of interesting. because I only have Windows 10 workstations. And then I have 7 devices with boot times logged by group policy. If you implement this to your production environment and you are using Active Directory, I will guarantee you will have much more devices than 7 with boot times logged by group policy. Let's go for startup performance. My startup score is 79, and there is like my Core boot score is 90, so that's really good. But my Core sign-in score is 68. So I have fast devices, but sign-in is slower. And it might be caused by I got too many group policy objects or whatever. Model performance in my environment is not that meaningful because you need to have at least 10 devices with the same model, so you could compare that. I will show you one screenshot a little bit later. Device performance. Now this is interesting. So with device information, I can see what is my boot time, how many restarts I have, and this is number of blue screens. Come on. Now I clicked the wrong place. Let me select some of the devices. Now, notice that there was a couple of devices which were not Windows 10. This is, for example, Windows Server 2012 R2. So it doesn't have Windows 10. This is the device I'm currently using. When checking my startup performance, 65, come on. I should give myself a little bit better hardware. And for example, over here you could see on May 19th, I installed updates. So now I'm showing you how slow I am installing updates. So for example, August updates I installed on my device on August 19th. And it took this update phase 1 minute, not too bad. Sign-in times. What are top 10 processes impacting startup? What is this? Windows Defender, number 1. Windows Explorer. So this is many times quite interesting list. And restart history. That's great because then you can see when the computer has been restarted and what operating system build using, including cumulative update it had at that time. And what was the reason of the restart? So these are really useful information. Let's go for the restart frequency. From there you can see this kind of cumulative information about your devices. So how many devices have been restarted within last 30 days? How many devices have blue screen? This is kind of interesting. Based on this information, baseline, which means all organizations using Endpoint Analytics, Microsoft is telling that 5% of devices had a blue screen within the last 30 days. For me, that's a really high number. What's your experience? I think there's a little bit bug in here, so they count that restart number too high. based on my customer information, it seems to be too high, that information, but it's kind of strange that Microsoft is publicly saying worse information about the reliability of its own operating system. Now let's go to the application reliability. For application reliability, I could see, for example, device information, and let's see total app crashes. How many app crashes I've had on this device? 2 app crashes. And what is the crashed application? Config Manager console. And even the latest one. So this Endpoint Analytics contains a bunch of interesting information which is really hard to get otherwise. And that is something that I'm being really pleased to be using this recommended software and work from anywhere. This is just like what percentage of your devices are Windows 10, how much you have like cloud identity, cloud management, and cloud provisioning, meaning autopilot. Okay, but let's go further. So this is from my customer's environment. So the customer is using only Lenovo devices. So it is easy to compare that what is the boot time and sign-in time based on different computer models. And also, this is really interesting. What is the average blue screens? So on this model, average blue screen is 0.16. Then the other one over here, for example, is 0.04. So this model gives much less blue screens. And also with applications, these are restart processes which are delaying the restarts. What are the worst applications? DM client, okay, so Intune management and Defender. With application info, I have a couple of applications. So how many crashes, and if I select that application, I can see which application versions cause these crashes. And from here you could see that the latest version, no crashes. This is most used version, not much crashes, but then there are some other versions which will crash much more frequently than the other ones. This information, if you want to do your own analysis, you need to use Microsoft Graph and get information out of that. So for example, I will quickly show you. Let's go here. So for example, if I run this script and let's go to the outgrid view, I will get all the information about this application information. With PowerShell, I could easily put them to CSV and then do Excel and analyze it further if I would like to do that. And then application update compliance. So with update compliance, that will tell you information about cumulative updates and feature updates. What is the state of those updates, and do you have any potential issues about those updates? And the same thing, let's leave that requirements and let's go and see what kind of information you can get. This update compliance is one of those log analytics additions. So when you have your log analytics workspace and you have installed this solution, so I go to the Workspace Summary, I can see information about my update compliance information. I click that one. And I should see what is the status of my applications and status of my updates and feature updates. I have a couple of devices with some issues. I got one out of support operating system version. I got one device which is missing security updates. Let's check my security update status. And from there, I could see that from different operating system versions, how many are up to date and which are not up to date, and do they have the previous security update installed. So I still have this one device that is missing these 1909 latest security updates. And if I select that feature updates, let's go keep that information. I have only one device which is using 21H1. I don't want to have many of those. So these 20H2 would be the version I would like to have on most of my devices. If I select any of those devices, then you will get these log analytics queries, and you can do the similar type of queries against this update compliance information. So for example, these are those different entities that you can find for this update compliance. These are documented, unlike those desktop analytics entities. And I have here some example query about the failed updates. About the privacy, so these are cloud services, and only those technical information is uploaded to the cloud. Microsoft now has pretty good documentation what information is uploaded to the cloud. So you can refer those documents if somebody within your company is requiring those. Diagnostic data view is also pretty good utility. I don't know, have you used that? So this it is a Microsoft Store application, and if I want to check that, I will see the full diagnostic data this computer is sending. I'm looking for my username. Don't see any. I'm looking for my domain name. Domain name is found because it is my delivery optimization server. It's part of that. And if I check my IP address, that is only because of that delivery optimization server. So there's not like any real data going to the Microsoft. Here is a quick comparison about these different services. But for summary, these services are free and they give you valuable information about your infra So I don't see many reasons why you shouldn't be using these services. There is some delay about getting those information from your devices, probably about a couple of days. But when it's running, it doesn't matter that much. I'm running out of time, so do we have time for any questions?
Hi, Panu. I think we have a couple of minutes left. I kept an eye on the chat window, but I didn't see any questions popping up there. So if anybody has any specific questions, please unmute and ask them, or throw them in the chat window.
And then there was silence.
Yes.
So that means that it was a very clear session.
It was quite
very
clear,
overview.
probably.
Okay, so thank you. I will be around for some time, so if there's going to be some question, I will answer to the chat. So I will then release the screen. So have a great rest of the evening.
Okay. Thank you very much, Panu, for the session. Really appreciate it that you could free up time for us and deliver it. Really good session. So thanks again. And yeah, hope to see you soon at an in-person event, hopefully next time. So looking forward to it. Thank you.